Well, she's still broken. She's still sad. She's getting sadder as the summer goes on, it seems. The dashboard is now damaged pretty bad. And you know, it's funny because I recently thought to maybe buy one of those reflector things for the windshield, so that way the stuff on the inside doesn't get, hurt by the sun, and especially with the string of really, really hot days that we've had lately. And then I come out here and I see that, and now it's like, wow, I honestly don't even know if I can fix that. It's just the padding. Maybe I can glue it back down, but there was a little bit of damage up over here. It feels like it's, shrunk or something, like the heat shrunk it, because you can kind of see it separating from the bezel here. But I can't push the bezel back, or I can't push this forward. But maybe we can use some glue and maybe glue it back down at some point in time. Man, that's a bummer. I know these have a history of doing that, but I don't know, this being an 01, I guess what can I say, right? It's still in really good shape for an 01 as it is. But anyway, she sits here and she's still broken, and my plans of working on this car and having it running, well, I honestly was hoping I'd have it running at this point, since I started tearing the engine and stuff down so early this year, earlier than I had expected. So I really was counting on having it running by now, but no, I'm actually still waiting to get some of the other parts before rebuilding the engine. I've said it before in a lot of the previous videos with this Aztek, is I wanted to do the power steering lines and the transmission lines first, because those lines are a lot easier to get to from above with this engine torn apart, and that's why I wanted to do those first. But to be quite honest, guys, life kind of gets in the way, and kind of on a budget financially. We've been hurting a little bit, so I haven't really been able to save money aside for these parts, and it's driving me crazy because I just want to get back into working on this, even with the possibility that the wasps are living in it. I don't know. I haven't seen them today, but the sun's not out. It's really hot, but the sun's not out. But I haven't seen them around here today, so I don't know if they're in hiding or where they're hiding. But either way, I want to get back to work on this, and it's really been killing me that I haven't been able to do so. But hopefully within the next few weeks, hopefully within the next few weeks, I'll be able to actually buy those parts, and I want to continue working on getting this thing rebuilt fast. It's really driving me crazy now. I just want it to run. I know I won't be able to drive it yet because I'm still gonna have to get tires, and I still have to get the brake lines done. I still have to get plates for it. I haven't bought any plates for it yet because it's not roadworthy yet. So it's been sitting here seriously since the day I brought it home. So when it's at least running, then I'm gonna buy the plates for it. There's a wasp. See, and I don't know where he came from or where he's gonna go. God, those things are ugly. Like, what's their purpose? Why are they even here? Oh, there's another one. That one he flew over there. I find that strange that all of a sudden he's going to go into the grill. Yeah, see? And now he's stuck. Now from there, I wonder where he goes. See? Like, oh, I can't see. See? I don't know where he goes. I don't want to tear that bumper off. That's frustrating. Dang it. And that's what's going to happen. I'm going to crawl under this car to fix something, and there's going to be a friggin' nest there. He might not even be in there anymore. Maybe he flew out the bottom or something. But I just want to know where they go. So as I mentioned, I haven't been able to buy the stuff for the Aztek as of lately, but I'm really hoping that that'll change here in the next couple of weeks, and I can start working on the Aztek again, getting the power steering lines and transmission lines. And then from there, once that stuff is done, I do want to get the brake lines done, because those are also very easy to get to when the engine is torn apart, because there's a set of lines that run directly against the firewall toward the bottom of the firewall, and I'm sure you could probably try to get them from under the car, but it's probably a lot easier to just do it while the engine is completely torn down. Then from there, I think that's it. I'll have to buy some stuff for the engine as I'm putting it back together, because a couple of the parts got destroyed, like the EGR valve tube cracked and tore, so I have to get another one of those. Still have to get some heat plates, plates for the or heat shields for the exhaust manifolds. I may just end up buying an all-new kit with the exhaust manifolds, because I know those come with not only nice shiny new exhaust manifolds, but also comes with the heat shields for those exhaust pieces. And I don't think you can get those separately at the parts store unless I ordered them from GM, and I'm sure that's going to cost an arm and a leg. So I'd rather maybe just buy all new exhaust manifolds. And I think I may have quoted those in the last video where I was talking about the pricing of where everything may be standing at this time. So I think I mentioned that. So that's debatable. Need other little things too: spark plugs, wires, new serpentine belt. Thought about replacing the water pump while it's torn apart, and it's no big deal because I can get to the water pump even when the engine's put back together. It's really easy. It's right at the top of the engine. I just have to take the serpentine belt off again and pull the pulley out, and the pump is inside right at that point. So but we'll see. I may just replace it now when as I'm putting the engine back together. Same for the power steering pump. My friend advised that maybe I find a rebuilt pump or such, since this pump has been dry for so long and because of the power steering leak. So who knows if the seals and stuff are bad in it. I don't know. If I keep the pump, I still have to replace the pulley because the pulley's cracked and it was chewing up the serpentine belt that was on the car now. And then there's other little things too: oil filter, transmission fluid, power steering fluid, brake fluid, engine coolant. This car is getting all new fluids. But enough about that, because I've talked about that in videos. And of course that's always going to change, because I'm sure something else is going to come about as I'm putting the car back together. But the quote that I had there, I think, was in the ballpark of around $600-700, somewhere around there, just to get the stuff at the time that I was thinking I was going to need. And that's, again, debatable, depending on which route I'm taking with this. But I figured in this video, why don't we talk about the money that I have spent on the Aztek? That's something that I haven't really covered yet. So we'll just start from there, I guess. Now granted that I've only had the Aztek since January of this past year, you know, I have been able to do some little things to it to kind of improve it, and stuff that really doesn't make that big of a difference, as you see, because the car is not running, which is funny. It was running when I bought it. It was running, but the you know, obviously there was a gasket issue, engine sludge buildup. The parts are very, very filthy, and so there was a lot of damage already done in the engine, and we can only hope that once the engine's put back together, everything's cleaned out, and all that stuff, that this engine is at least going to last a few more years, especially, you know, for the money that, you know, I've been putting into it. We'll start off at the very beginning when I bought the Aztek. Kind of funny because I found the Aztek on Facebook, in the Facebook marketplace. I came across the Aztek when I was just kind of randomly looking, and the original asking price was $700, and this was, I think, sometime last summer, when I was really getting desperate to buy an Aztek, and I almost came close to buying a really nice 04 Aztek, but that unfortunately fell through. I looked at a couple of other ones, and financially it wasn't going to work out at the time, but I just remember seeing this blue Aztek on the marketplace for $700, and then it just happened to be in January when I was just randomly cruising Facebook and Craigslist and stuff. The same Aztek was still for sale by the same people, and they drastically lowered the price, and it got me thinking of, you know, maybe we can make this work. So the asking price at this time was $400. $400 for this Aztek. That was running. It was running when I went and looked at it, and of course, you know, not in the best of shape. Obviously, the head gaskets and stuff were blown, and you know, it still needed work, but you know, it was running and everything seemed to be in good order at the time. So I paid $400 to purchase the Aztek. Now I'm not including the price of the taxes, the title fee. I'm not including any of that because, I mean, that's kind of like a mandatory expense, and really doesn't do anything to help the Aztek in this matter. So I'm just going to leave it at the fact that the Aztek was purchased for $400. Now unfortunately I had to rent a trailer to bring the Aztek home. So went to U-Haul and we rented a flatbed trailer, or a car hauler as they called it. We rented the car hauler for $53. And that was actually an all-day thing. So I could have had that trailer for an entire 24 hours. But unfortunately, we only needed it for like, what, 3? 4? Anyway, it was about $53 to rent the trailer. Now, after I got the Aztek home, I immediately went to the parts store and I bought the head gasket kit and the head bolts, because I knew for sure that the gasket job was going to be a must, and I just wanted to make sure that I had the kit for when the time was coming to replace these gaskets. So I bought the Felpro head gasket kit, which includes all of the gaskets and seals that we are going to need as we are rebuilding this engine, and I bought the head bolts. The head bolts don't come with the gasket kit, you have to buy them separately. So I bought the gasket kit and the head bolts, and I do believe that was around $220 to buy those entire kits right there. Now we come to the little things that I started working on, and this is where we kind of started our junkyard trips, where I was looking for a lot of the things that were going to be either discontinued from GM or just cost way too much to get from GM. On our first junkyard trip, I ended up leaving 2 different junkyards with front hood shocks, which we desperately needed, rear lift glass shocks. For the way back, the glass would not stay up at all, it would come down, so we got the hood shocks for the hood and the lift gate or lift glass shocks. We also needed a cover for the power relay center under the hood, because there was no cover. Actually, the previous owner had the cover, and it was off when I looked at the car to jump it because the positive terminal is there, and he just had the cover off. But he did forget to give it to me, so I just said whatever. I'll just get another cover. And we also needed the positive battery terminal post. The original one, it wasn't even the original one, but the screw that goes into the side post battery that came on the car when I bought it was messed up. It was too long. I mean, it was just really funky, so I found the correct one off of another Aztek and brought that home to use. Did I mention the oil cap? We needed to get an oil cap because the original oil cap from my engine was stuck, and you had to actually use a pair of pliers to twist the cap and pull the cap off to see all of the gunky sludge and milky goo and stuff on the bottom of the cap. It's a wonder why that thing stuck so bad. So the oil cap, the positive battery terminal screw, the front hood shocks, rear lift glass shocks, and the relay center cover. I left that junkyard $15 for that. I also needed to get a battery, and that was another thing that we were looking for on that particular day at the junkyard. Unfortunately, the first junkyard that I went to did not have any side post batteries at that time, so we ended up going to another junkyard, and I was really hoping to find a refurbished battery or a rebuilt battery, but they didn't have them. They did have some used batteries, and unfortunately I bought a used one for $35. It's been cold the entire time that I brought this stuff home and hooked everything up, so this used battery was still dead, and I didn't want to run the Aztek all the time. I would go out there and start it periodically just to keep all the fluids running and stuff with how cold it is, but the battery was always still needing a jump, so maybe now that it's warmer it would be better, but of course it's not hooked up, and it's not going to be hooked up for another little while. So a new battery, once everything is on its way to getting top notch, a new battery will be in the future probably, but the used battery was just for the time being. Then the real kicker came, and this was an unexpected purchase. It was actually an unexpected situation, but I was in the Aztek and I was kind of messing around with the stereo and stuff, and it turns out the CD player, or the 5-disc changer, does not work. Is it 5-disc or 6-disc? Why can't I remember what it is now? I think it's a 6-disc. I don't know why my brain just kind of stopped working there for a second. Yeah, it's a 6 disc. I don't know why I thought 5. Anyway, it turns out the CD drive in this CD player does not work, and I was kind of bummed out about that. I was one of the big hypes in purchasing this Aztek was that it not only had the Pioneer sound system that my previous Aztek had, but it had the 6-disc CD changer, which is the top of the line stereo for the Aztek. And it didn't work. It didn't want to pull CDs in, and it didn't want to take CDs out. And I tried dissecting it myself, maybe thinking the rollers needed cleaned, but I could not solve the situation. So I ended up making a trip to a junkyard, and this is a setback here. I bought the exact same CD player, 6-disc CD changer, for $50. And I didn't even need the whole stereo. I just needed the drive. But I spent $50 on a stereo just to get the drive from one stereo to put it into my existing stereo. And I did that for 2 reasons. Number one, I knew everything else on my stereo worked. All of the buttons light up, which is really impressive for a Pontiac stereo, especially with it being the original 2001 stereo. All of the buttons lit up. And number 2, it saves me from having to go to the dealership and having them program an all-new stereo to the car, and that's obviously something that I can't do right now. So I figured if I just took the drive from the new CD player and put it in the existing head unit with all of the other circuit boards and stuff remaining intact, the stereo and CD changer would work just fine, and to my surprise, it actually did. But yeah, I spent 50 bucks. I have an additional stereo carcass in the basement, and in case I ever need it, it's there. And you know, we made one more trip to the junkyard at some point in time, and with that trip, I bought a remote key fob for the Aztek. Here it is. It's broken right now because I tried to pry the battery out of it, and it was stuck for so long that it kind of fused itself together. So we need a new case. I don't even know if this remote works, but we can get a new case as long as this circuit board works. So I can always get a new case. But I bought this because I saw it in one of the existing Azteks at the junkyard, and mine didn't come with one. So in the future, if this all plays out the way I'm hoping it will, you know, we'll take this remote and the car to the dealership and have this programmed to my Aztek just so we have it. But that's not a big deal. But I bought that, and I bought a new hood insulator because the hood insulation that was on my Aztek when I brought it home was awful. It was very fragile. It was tearing. It was hanging in some spots. It had salt debris all over it, and it just didn't look nice. So I pulled a hood insulator off of another Aztek that was a little newer than mine, and it's still not perfect, but it looks better, and that's just another one of those stupid little things that don't really have to do with any performance issue of the Aztek. It's just for looks. But that trip, I bought the remote fob and the hood insulator for a total of $10. Now, I've spent money on a couple of other things with the Aztek that I'm not necessarily including because they were just kind of things to get by, and you know, it's nothing that's a permanent fix. I had to buy a couple of quarts of transmission fluid when I first had to move the Aztek from one side of my driveway to the other because it spewed out so much. So I bought 3 quarts of transmission fluid that I tried to salvage some of it anyway, but I'm not going to really include that right now. I also had to buy, you know, some carb cleaner and stuff along those lines to help some of the cleaning process with the Aztek engine parts. Didn't really do as much as I was hoping, so that was kind of a waste of money. Not including that, and I had to rent a couple of tools. I had to rent one tool to take the O2 sensor off, and then I had to rent another tool when I was taking the valve springs. When I was disassembling the engine heads and taking the springs and the valves off, I had to rent a spring compressor tool for that. Those were about 30 bucks, you know, for each rental, but you get the money back. It's more so a deposit, so we don't have to include those in this at all either. I'll include the things like engine coolant and the engine oil, any other transmission fluid and stuff, once it's in the Aztek for good. You know, then we'll include it because then it's actually being used. But you know, those other little things there, I'm not counting those. So how much money have I sunk into my Aztek so far? I'm kind of afraid. It could be worse. It could be a lot worse, actually. There are definitely some really good factors here that have been helping me save money. For one, I bought a $400 Aztek. I could have bought an Aztek for like $1,000 and it not be running, and then I'm already $1,000 in the hole. No, with the investment, with the purchase of my Aztek, I'm only $400 in the hole to begin. So we got $400 there, plus the $53 for the trailer to bring the Aztek home, plus the $220 that I spent on the head gasket kit and the head bolts, plus the $15 that we spent on the oil cap, the positive battery post screw, the front hood shocks, the rear lift glass shocks, and the relay center cover under the hood, plus the $35 battery, used battery, the $50 that I spent for the CD player, and the $10 for the remote fob and the hood insulator. I'm still under $1,000. I don't think that's that bad. And like I said, there's factors here that have helped me greatly. I spent only $400 on an Aztek, and so far everything that I've really have bought for the car that's, you know, that would cost way more from GM and stuff, I've been able to find at the junkyard so far. So right now I've only spent $783 on my Aztek. And I think with that quote that I mentioned in my last quote update video, we're looking at about another $600 or $700 to get it back together as of right now. Now, like I said, that's probably going to change, but right now I've only spent $783 on trying to, well, actually, no, that's with the purchase of the Aztek. If I take away the price of the Aztek itself, and we'll just take away the trailer cost too, because, you know, that's just, you know. So I've only really spent $330 in parts on the Aztek. Wow. I'd never really given this much thought until now. $330 in parts so far, just to improve the Aztek. Add the other $700, we'll say, and that's, you know, roughly a little over $1,000 in bringing the Aztek back to life at this time. Yeah, I honestly thought that could have been a lot worse. So guys, I guess that's it, in case any of you guys were wondering how much money I've sunken into my Aztek so far. And of course, as time goes on and we are moving along with this project, then we'll definitely, you know, have like a final result at the end, you know, when we add everything else up. Because it's not over. We are far from this being over. Far from it. So guys, thanks for watching. I hope you found this interesting. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Also check out teespring.com/store/Mike's Vehicle Spotlight for all of your MVS and vlog merchandise. I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.